Question with 9.9 million views. My boyfriend said his family owns 2 houses. This Lunar New Year, I'm planning to bring him home to meet my parents. My family wants to see the property ownership certificates, mainly because they're worried I might be deceived. Is it appropriate to do that? My family has never met my boyfriend before. Also, his family and mine live in different cities, so there's really no way for my family to ask around or verify this information. Top 1 answer with 11,000 likes. Some time ago, a buddy of mine met a girl through a family relative. Before introducing them, the relative probably gave the girl a brief idea of his family background. This buddy of mine had very little dating experience. His daily life was very simple: work and home, back and forth. Every day, he quietly buried himself in writing for his job. He was a screenwriter. When we went out after work, he rarely joined us. Whenever he had free time, he preferred going home and playing games. He had seen plenty of online posts, jokes, and short videos about blind dates, so he was worried the girl might get straight to the point and ask about his financial situation the moment they met. But when they actually met, they chatted for over 2 hours at a cafe. The girl only talked about everyday things: what movies she liked, what music she listened to, where she had traveled before, and what kind of cosmetics and clothes she usually liked. My buddy found her gentle and quiet, not nearly as materialistic as the rumors online made women out to be, so he was very pleased. After coffee, he even made a point of saying he wanted to treat her to dinner. The restaurant she chose turned out to be very modest, too, and the two of them simply had conveyor belt sushi. During dinner, the girl said she was from northern China, from Weihai in Shandong, and that she actually was not used to this kind of light-flavored seafood. She preferred stronger flavors, like braised prawns in oil. She also proudly told my buddy that her braised prawns and stir-fried sea cucumber with scallions were both excellent. After dinner, my buddy drove her home. Before leaving, he asked whether she would be willing to meet again. The girl, shy and slightly bashful, said that would be fine. She also told him there was no need to spend so much money next time. Since the weather was nice, they could just take a walk in the park. And if he was willing, she could cook him a few dishes for lunch and let him try her cooking. Those few words went straight to my buddy's heart. He immediately said they could meet again the following weekend. A week later, the girl really did show up at his place carrying a bag of prawns and vegetables. According to my buddy, she really had not been bragging. Her braised prawns tasted no worse than something made by a hotel chef, and she even thoughtfully plated the dish for him. After lunch, the two of them went for a walk in the wetland park near his residential compound, and only after that did the girl leave. Later, the girl said she had been busy with work and probably would not be able to see him for the next half-month, though they still occasionally chatted on WeChat. Then one day, on a work day, the girl suddenly called my buddy and said that since he seemed to really like the prawns she made last time, she had made some again and asked whether he wanted any. At noon, she actually brought a lunchbox to his workplace. My buddy was so overjoyed at the time that he could barely remember how he finished those prawns. But after that, the tone of the story suddenly took a sharp turn. Not long afterward, the girl told him that something had changed with her work, and she might not have any plans to date for quite a long time. Because of this, my buddy was down for a very long time, more than half a year. He became completely dejected and dispirited. It was not until more than a year later, during a group dinner, that he told us about this girl he had once met. At the dinner table that day, there was another friend of mine. This guy was basically a master-level playboy. A rich, second-generation kid who had seen and dated countless women. After hearing the story, that playboy friend said bluntly, "That girl was operating at a very high level. She was not someone you could handle. You thought she was just chatting and walking around with you, but in reality, every step she took was carefully planned. For example, when she went to your place to cook, that was her way of checking you out. By looking at your home, she could already get a sense of your basic financial strength and even your living habits." And why did she specifically cook lunch instead of dinner? To avoid the possibility of you trying to make her stay overnight? And then there was the lunchbox she brought you later. You thought that was a loving homemade lunch? No. That meant she had even checked out your workplace. From beginning to end, she never asked you a single obvious investigative question. But your car, your house, your family background, and even your work situation, she had figured them all out. When she later said she did not want to date recently, it was probably because after checking everything, she was not satisfied with your conditions. But you also can't really say she did anything wrong. Throughout the whole process, she gave you both respect and dignity. Even though she did not choose you in the end, she never embarrassed you. And besides, she was willing to put in real effort herself. Just that braised prawn dish you said was no worse than a hotel chef's. Who knows how much practice she put in to get it to that level? So in the end, all that can be said is this: your current level is not high enough, and you are not quite a match for her. Just work on improving yourself from now on. Top 2 answer with 8,853 likes. What you described still is not ruthless enough. The family my friend ran into was truly next level. They had been dating for 2 years and felt things were about ready, so he traveled alone to another city to meet the girl's parents. Everything else was not worth mentioning, but the 3 demands her parents made were really bizarre. They asked my friend to pull his credit report to check whether he had any debts, show his savings to assess his financial ability, and even bring the original property ownership certificate for them to inspect. My friend was honestly an absolute idiot. He did not think any of this was inappropriate at all. He happily complied. His credit report was fine. There were debts, and he explained them one by one. Credit cards, Huabei. Those are normal, right? They also looked at his mortgage while they were at it. At that point, there was no need to show the property certificate anymore, because they had already seen the mortgage. As for savings, he opened his mobile banking app and showed his future father-in-law. There was a little over 100,000 yuan, not a huge amount. He immediately expressed his determination, saying he would work hard to earn more money in the future. There was even a small episode in the middle. He had 2 banking apps on his phone, ICBC and China Merchants Bank. His savings were all in ICBC. The China Merchants app had only been downloaded when he applied for a credit card before. He barely used it and kept no money there. After he finished showing the ICBC app, he was about to take his phone back. But the future father-in-law had sharp eyes and had already noticed the other app, so he said, "Open that China Merchants app and let me take a look." Even after my friend explained the situation, the man still insisted on checking it before he could feel reassured. After going through that whole process, her parents were basically satisfied with my friend. He also thought the matter was settled, and that the next step would be for his parents to formally visit her family to discuss marriage. But when my friend said he hoped both sets of parents could meet, the future father-in-law gave a slight smile and said there was no need to rush. He said, "We also need to understand your parents' situation first." How would they understand it? The same 3 things again: credit reports, savings, and property certificates. My friend finally felt troubled, but not because he thought the request was absurd. He only felt it would be inconvenient to show those things. That is why I say he really was an idiot. His family situation was like this. They had 3 homes in total. His parents had been allocated 1 old, small unit by their workplace. Later, they bought 2 commercial apartments, 1 large and 1 small, both in somewhat remote locations. My friend lived in the smaller one. The larger one was intended to be his marital home. His parents still lived in the old, small unit. Do not underestimate that old apartment just because it was old. Its location was excellent, right in the city center. The surrounding facilities were complete. The subway entrance was right by the doorstep, and just a few steps outside were a commercial street and a fairly large park. Conditions like that were by no means bad in Guangzhou. My friend was worried that the workplace allocated apartment did not have a property certificate. As for savings, that was also inconvenient because, as far as he knew, his parents were not good with technology. Even their savings were still kept in paper passbooks. Her parents appeared very reasonable and said they were not in a hurry. My friend could go home and discuss it with his parents first. Before he left, they also tactfully reminded him that for the savings, he should remember to get a bank statement. My friend did not understand and said, "Isn't the passbook enough?" The future father-in-law was sharp. "What if your family temporarily borrows a sum of money just to keep up appearances?" Only at this moment did my friend finally begin to feel somewhat insulted. But in his anger, all he did was make a few indirect complaints to his girlfriend. What a damn idiot. When he went home and told his family, he almost made his father so angry that something happened to him. His father pointed at him with a trembling finger and cursed, "You disgraceful thing. It is bad enough that you humiliate yourself. Now you want to drag your mother and me into being humiliated too? Get out. Do not invite us to your wedding either. If you see me again, do not call me Dad. I do not have such a disgraceful son. At most, the two of us are acquaintances." During that period, every relative in his family scolded him whenever they saw him. Top 3 answer with 5,402 likes. My neighbor's daughter went on a blind date with a guy. The woman's family asked the man to provide his credit report, property certificate, education record on Shuixinwang/CHSI, and proof of savings. In the end, after checking, the man passed everything. Later, both families met each other's parents. The man's side then also asked to check the woman's credit report, property certificate, savings, and premarital medical examination. As a result, the woman failed 2 items, lacked 1 item, and considered 1 item an insult. On the very day both sets of parents met, the man's side said goodbye to her. I forgot to clarify something. One of the failed items was that the woman often did not get her period on time each month and sometimes missed it altogether. Anyone who has accompanied a woman to the hospital for this kind of issue would understand. Usually, it may be due to her own physical condition, such as mood, hormones, and so on. But there is also another possibility. Let me explain this briefly for everyone. 1. A premarital medical examination will not check how many abortions someone has had. 2. A history of abortion can sometimes be seen through a gynecological examination. If someone has had multiple induced abortions, this may be detected through an ultrasound during formal pregnancy preparation. For example, if your wife has difficulty getting pregnant and often has irregular or missed periods, this may come out during medical checks, and the doctor may mention it. But usually the doctor will ask whether the accompanying man should step outside. In proper hospitals, men are not allowed into gynecological examination rooms. If a man is accompanying the patient, the doctor will also ask him to leave because it involves very private matters. Unless your girlfriend allows you to stay beside her and listen. If the two of you are preparing for pregnancy and your girlfriend asks you to wait outside, you should be cautious. Especially if it is your first time going with her to the hospital to create a pregnancy file or check a similar issue. If you can stay and listen, then stay. Some women who have had these related examinations before should know about this. Top 4 answer with 5,200 likes. Of course it's appropriate. I work in sales. Every time negotiations with a client are almost settled, the client asks to see our company's business license, bank account, and quality certificates. Before officially placing an order, they even send their procurement and quality control teams to inspect the factory and take some samples back for testing. Isn't business supposed to be about honesty and transparency? After all, business is business, right? Oh, so you two are planning to get married? I thought you were negotiating a business deal. In that case, sorry for the interruption.